Yeah, sorry about that, guys. We got disconnected there. I didn't do anything. It's the first time that's done that. So hold on, we'll wait for a few minutes. It looks like we're back. Heaven's sakes, what's going on? I got DDoSed. Got kicked off the net. What a trip. Just a moment. No warning, nothing. Just said my chat was disconnected, so I went and looked, and heaven's sakes, it's gone. We are back, just made April. Sorry about that. Have to put a big asterisk beside that. Apologize. My Google, it looked like, that doesn't matter. Sometimes these, I use Streamlabs desktop. Well, I am today. Streamlabs desktop, but usually it's okay. What do you do? What do you want to do? You want to refund, Mr. Hemi? Thank God you didn't pay for that. Hey, Brian, I'm sorry, guys. Caused a little confusion. Fuck, I like that tweaker bit, too. We're going to have to go back and check that tweaker out later. My apologies, everybody. Yeah, I guess we'll call it part 2. I'll redo the title and description after I'm done, though. Welcome back, welcome back. So we spent a little bit of time introducing to whatever questions were in my mind in that sense. And this is the very, I shouldn't actually say which one this is. Page 4 of 38 out of one of the many PDFs of the documents that were released. So, let me read this to you. On May 2nd, 2025, 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan were reported missing from their house at 1407 Garlock Road in Landown, Nova Scotia. Lily was last seen by her mother, Malaya, and stepfather, Daniel Martell. That morning sometime, redacted, when she came into their bedroom. Jack had not been seen since the night before, but Malaya and Daniel heard him playing in the house that morning during the same time frame. An extensive search involving ground search and rescue, air support, and underwater searches were conducted between May 2nd and May 9th, 2025, and again between May 17th and 19th, 2025, but were unsuccessful. Their whereabouts are still unknown, and the investigation is continuing. 10. The investigation confirmed Lily and Jack were last seen outside the family home on May 1st, 2025 at 2:25 p.m. at the local Dollarama, which was confirmed via video surveillance. Police were called to a report of them missing on May 2nd, 2025 and arrived on scene at 10:27 a.m. I believe that a report of redacted for the time frame requested will assist in identifying unknown persons and or witnesses. Redacted provide further avenues for police investigation into their disappearance and could assist with locating them. So, the initial police dispatch. On May 2nd, 2025, Pictou County RCMP were dispatched to report of missing children in Landown. The following is a summary of the dispatch information. A. Malaya reported her children, Lily and Jack, may have left the residence and were missing. She said they were both possibly autistic and were known to wander. She said their boots were gone. So this, at the time of dispatch, she was reporting this to be something that it clearly wasn't. And you remember back when you're just getting to learn of the case at the time, we were talking about their two missing autistic kids wandered away. Yeah, wandering and getting away from the group is a thing with autism. But listen, Jack and Lily weren't autistic. They weren't autistic. They didn't even show symptoms of being autistic. Neglected, yes. But at the time, and think about where that information is coming from. Why does Malaya believe them to be autistic? It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, let me show you something. Everybody is different. Every child is different, but it doesn't matter. There's typical things with children with autism that you notice. Lack of eye contact. You never get them to look into the camera when you're trying to take a picture of them, for example. And all kinds of other things. And Jack and Lily don't exhibit this type of behavior in the circumstance. There's no reason in the world for Malaya to even believe that the kids were on the spectrum. So the question would then be, and this is what's going to be, this is where our minds are. We don't know why. Why does she think that? Why does she think that they were special needs in this circumstance? But listen, she reported that to dispatch, the 911 operator. Right away, it tells you that there's a good chance that she was bullshitting. It does me. And she's wanting to use the fact that they're autistic and desperate. And if that's not good enough, she'll tell you that they'll go with anybody that offers them food and water in that circumstance. I have a hard time believing that. Unless you keep them hungry and thirsty that way. That really bothers me that she would say that. And do you know what gives it away for me? Actually, let me correct myself, because Malaya said that they are possibly autistic. What does that tell you about the parent in that sense? You don't know. You either know or you don't know. There's either a problem or there's not a problem. Why is it relevant, and why are you bringing it up to dispatch, and why are you bringing it up to the world? There's no such thing as possible autism. No such thing, honey. You're either autistic or you're not. Although it'd be nice to blame some of our stupid decisions on the fact that we're autistic. Depends who you're... you can make all kinds of sidetracks, but the problem here with it is the fact you have the mother reporting the child missing and giving them they're possibly autistic. Now, I'm not nitpicking here. It's a problem because she's trying to present it as it's already something that it's clearly not, which would indicate to us that she's at that point in the know that something bad happened to Jack and Lily, as opposed to being in this scenario and not in the know and being hook, line, or coerced into believing something by Daniel. Is she a co-conspirator, or is she one of the victims? It would indicate that she's in the know. Yeah, Callie G, I agree. And I hate it. That's why I deleted my comment, because, one, I don't like to bring up the talk about autism in a certain way. We should all know the fact that there's an argument out there and the reasons why the argument, and you can't even discuss it without being flagged for medical misinformation, okay? That should tell you all you need to know about certain things. However, It's not why I wanted to bring it up. What bothers me about it in this particular situation is that the mother is using it to make it look and put blame back onto the kids and take blame away from themselves in this particular circumstance, because it eases, well, it's something for the searchers to take into consideration right away. They're probably autistic. They just don't have a diagnosis yet. No, there's nothing about Jack and Lily that show anybody anything that they were autistic. And I'm going to use this particular gentleman as a comparison, okay? Only because I experienced it. And I'm trying to remind you that I'm not attempting to generalize. But hold on. For example, this poor young missing child, Darius McDougall, out in Alberta, you can tell by the picture that's on your screen right now that here's a child who legitimately is autistic. Where did my little thing go here? Excuse me. Darius does have autism, and you can tell, and the poor guy has a black eye in this photo. You couldn't have found a better one. But, for example, this is the best sort of picture out. Like if you're out taking a picture of your kids and saying, hey guys, let's all take a group photo. The autistic person does not know to look at the camera, doesn't even know what the hell you mean, what's going on in that circumstance, all right? And that really comes through in the picture from this beautiful young 6-year-old Darius who's been missing 7 days. Not that I'm suspecting anything foul there. Like here in this circumstance, he was out with family, like 6 different friends, and he got away from the group in a mountainous area. That's terrifying and made me cry this morning that they're still out there searching on the BC-Alberta border for this boy. This is something that is a danger to everybody. You know, things get a little excited and something catches their interest and they take off. Next thing you know, one thing leads to another and you can't find them. Completely different geographical area than Garlock Road. But this is a beautiful example of really what I'm saying about eye contact, facial expressions. All right. You don't even get one. I've seen countless photos of Jack and Lily Sullivan, and these kids are engaged. They're looking at the camera. They're playing with things. They're dressed up in different costumes. They're making gestures, monster gestures. Yeah, Callie G, black eye on children. Hello, he's got a black eye there. Maybe it's just a photo. Okay, I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but yeah, a black eye on a missing photo. What the hell? I saw that this morning too. I'm not trying to insinuate that there's anything going on in this circumstance, but I just wanted to make comparison with his particular photo. That's all. Well, where's Ninchi's? Ninchi's right here. Geez, that's good eye contact there on both of them. He's looking directly at something. She's looking at something. She's engaged. Yeah, these are beautiful, beautiful children. And you should be excited and happy every day that they were in your lives. What was it Daniel was trying to reach in this circumstance? What was the reason that they were even together in the first place? Yeah, and listen. It comes back to my problem, or our problem, with what it is that they initially told police. Why you would insist that, why the mother of the missing child. Uh-oh, did I close that out? No. It's right there. Oh, let me try this again. Why the mother of a missing child would want to insist that they're known for bolting and they're known for running. Tell us the last 10 times they did. I could go on to great extents. I know the problem of running and bolting. It was a real problem for me when we moved into the home we're in now as compared to where we moved from. My daughter treated this place the same as the last place, and that was an issue. She didn't understand that it's a different environment. Let's see. Let me see if I can pull this up again. What I'm trying to get at is I'm trying to find this part in the when they detail and talk about the conversation between Cindy and Malaya. There's an ongoing conversation between the two. What the hell is that? Oh. I see what's going on. All my windows are mixed up. Oh, sorry about this. Hold on. Why can't I make this full screen, for crying out loud? Let's just do... So, on May 2nd, 2025, Pictou County RCMP were dispatched to report of a missing child in Landown. The following is a summary of this dispatch information. Malaya reported her children, Lily and Jack, may have left the residence. Well, think about that. May have left. She presented it as, my kids may have. Like, she's really distancing herself right away, isn't she? That's distancing language on the 911 call. There's only so many things that could have happened. You wouldn't be so hung up on how the hell they actually got out of the house if they were fucking obviously not there. The kids aren't here. Obviously, they got out of the house. 2 seconds. How did they get out of the house? Who gives a shit? There's only so many choices. Obviously, you want us to believe that they went out the back sliding door. Why did you guys spend so much time focused on the obvious? It's almost not even relevant to the fact that they're missing at this point. Malaya reported them missing at 10:01 a.m. So much time passed. The dispatch information reported police arrived at 10:27 a.m. In this time frame, in previous, when you listen to Daniel and talk about what it is that they did in leading up to and in that small time frame, that 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 to 30 minute time frame, he wanted you, let me rephrase that. He over-explains and he overcompensates and exaggerates exactly how he was searching and where he was searching and for what reason. Why are you so sensitive, Daniel, about that particular time frame of all time frames? You don't really want to put a time on when it was that the panic button set in where you actually had to call 911. Remember, she just did it instinctively. Witness statements of the step-grandmother, mother, and stepfather. 18. Janie McKenzie provided 2 statements to police on May 2nd, 2025 and May 5th, 2025. The following is a summary of what she said. Oh, this will be rich. Janie said Lily and Jack are her step-grandchildren. She lives in the camper on the same property as the residence from where Jack and Lily went missing. She said she saw them all week. Regarding Friday, she said the following. On Friday morning, she got up at... Now, see, it's already complicated. On Friday morning, she got up at 6 a.m. and had tea and cigarettes, ready to start your day. And she goes back to bed. Well, that was a tough day. Around 7 a.m., she put out and tended to her chickens and let her dog out. She went back inside and played a game on her phone. So tech savvy, this Janie, isn't she? sitting out in that old RV. What is she playing? Candy Crush? She got a call from, maybe she's playing pinball or Texas Hold'em. She got a call from her brother, Ron McKenzie, at 8:48. And they talked about going to town. After she was done talking to him, she went back to bed and must have dozed off after scrolling on Facebook. I must have dozed right off. She openly or originally said she might have learned the children were gone around 8:48. Might have? This is so bizarre. Before she talked to Ron, but later clarified the timeline in her second statement. So there's already a problem with Janie. Her dog started barking and that woke her up. Introduction of her prop, the dog. She heard Lily and Jack in the backyard playing on the swings and laughing. Then she dozed off again. It's a straight up lie. She woke up again when she heard Daniel yelling. Let's get a time frame in your mind right here, though. For Jack and Lily, she didn't think anything of it because Jack liked to look for bugs and gets into things when he's doing that. So she thought Daniel might have been yelling at Jack for that reason. When she came outside after waking up again, she saw Malaya standing at the rock pile, holding Meadow. Malaya said Jack and Lily went missing for about redacted, and she had called 911. Janie got her coat and boots on and walked around looking for them. Daniel was searching for them. Her brother again called around 10:19 a.m. after all of this happened. Malaya called her mother, Cindy, who came to the house. When her mother arrived, Malaya talked to her and said, "I told you they had autism." Right there. "I told you they had autism, Mom." "But you told the dispatch that they possibly had autism." So why does this woman think why does she think that Jack and Lily had autism? This is a piece of disinformation that's been planted right away. There's no reason, not even almost, nobody could indicate that. There's no possibility. So why was the fact that they needed to plant this false piece of information so important to them so early? It indicates that they were desperate need to sell this story to family and friends. That's what it looks like. What are you talking about, Slim? What, you got so many arrows in? Hold on, let me see what you're saying in my chat. I'll get back to that in a sec. Good morning, Callie G, by the way. I coughed in your ears. I apologize. It's so telling Malaya didn't instinctively call her tribal tracking dad to help search. I don't have the easy answers for you in that circumstance yet, Slim. You know, for the last few days, I was off thinking about, wondering how much Malaya knew, if the possibility that it was just Daniel alone and kept keeping her in the dark. I'm not so sure about that. Like at this point, really, when you're she's an accessory and a co-conspirator at the moment in this circumstance. Was she coerced into being such? There's more to the story. Something tells me that there's more to the story here. Don't even ask that, Christine. Don't even come in here asking about Derwood O'Grady's angle. You got to go listen to it yourself. Don't pick up any information from it. I refuse to even talk about Derwood's angle. It's ridiculous. It's planted so many false seeds. Not worth it. you get a sense of just to the degree of how much of a bullshitter he is when he's trying to pass you any piece of information. His need to exaggerate and overemphasize and tell you how sure he is about how solid this is and all of the information that he's withholding. Get the fuck out of here. Go play Clue with your friends, Durwood. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Grove Cat. Like, Cindy's a nurse. She's a registered nurse. She'll recognize certain things. But why Malaya is sitting there trying to convince somebody who's a registered nurse, a pragmatic registered nurse in the circumstance, has it been a conversation between them? I wish Cindy would, or maybe Wade would have talked about it. Maybe we can get Wade to talk to us. I want to know all about this. I want to know why. That really stands out to me. Maybe it was her own personal justification for treating them differently. You need to encourage your children. They just don't learn things on their own. They just don't learn through osmosis necessarily. You've got to encourage them. You've got to work with them. You've got to play with them no matter if they have a disability or not. I've heard something that terrified me yesterday. So, it terrifies me. I know of a person who was struggling to take care of their autistic, had one autistic daughter who's nonverbal. She's a fine mom, well-intentioned in everything, but her apartment burnt down, and it ends up that Children's Aid came into the picture and took custody of the child with autism only to throw them in a group home, all right? Took the rights away from the mother to make any sort of educated decision for their own health at that point. And this is a 11-year-old girl with autism, and they've got her so medicated up. They've got her medicated, all kinds of diagnosis, like everything, all kinds of updated diagnoses so that they could then assign her medication. They've got this child medicated right up to sleep. And it's all medication so that they, in the group home, don't have a difficult time in managing their behavior. It has nothing to do with what's good for the child in that circumstance. There's nothing that beats good energy burning, hard work, exercise, exploration, playing to wear yourself out, whether you have a disability or not. You don't need medications. It's so terrifying. Then when the mother tries to talk about the dietary restrictions, her answer that she gets back is that we don't experiment on kids here. Talking about taking lactose or milk, cow's milk, out of their diet and replacing it with the almond milk in this circumstance. Can you believe it that they don't? Their answer was that they don't experiment on children. Well, what the fuck do you think filling them full of medication is at the age of 11, just so that it suits your group home in that circumstance? Not like there is actually any behavioral challenges or problems. It's like they want to zombify the child, and that's going to be their experience growing up into adulthood. Can you believe this? It just makes me so sad. Anyway, that terrified me. Pills don't solve your problem in any circumstance like this, and only damage your liver, especially the young physiology of a growing child. not having experimented on. If you're putting a kid on psychiatric medicine, they're being experimented on, like it or not. You need a psychiatrist or somebody there to work with them. You just don't put stuff in their system willy-nilly and expect it to work itself out. Fuck. Anyway, got sidetracked there. What are you saying, Lori Green? Lori, you sound grumpy this morning. You personally are not interested in Wade or any other family members that seen signs or knew the situation going in and sat on their arse do nothing? Well, what's your personal opinion? I wouldn't exactly say that. That's your judgment based upon not knowing all of the information. You're just looking for someone to blame at this point in time because there's 2 missing kids. Blame the parents. Put blame where blame should be put. We say, Ms. K, generally you need to have the child assessed and monitored for a period of time before just adding medication into the equation. All right, but yeah, enough was for me. When I heard that they were putting an 11-year-old on sleeping medication, that really pissed me right off. Although, I'm not going to lie to you, before... Listen, there was a time when I was a young parent, when I was way back. Listen, my daughter never went to sleep. It drove me nuts. Tried everything. But I couldn't there was no way I was going to pump her full of medication. It had to have been an easier way to go about things. It's just how things are sometimes with special needs. But the thought did occur. The thought, I'm like, that's when you learn about medications, and then you should probably say, there's an alternative to that, thanks. But when you're sitting up at 2 a.m. and your kids won't go to, do as you're saying, they won't go to sleep and you can't figure it out, it's not like there's a magic button or an easy button. The best choice is lay down with them, I've always found. Just lay down with them. But I thought about it. Only leads to trouble. I'm not even entertaining that. Whether or not, listen, I don't even entertain that. There's too much interest. There's too many interesting things to talk about. Don't need to put blame on all kinds of people here. Well then, that's your right if you want to blame them. But I'm telling you, it's a bit silly. It's a bit silly. It's a bit silly. Okay, that's for somebody who doesn't know what the problem or the issue had, that it's everybody else's responsibility to have stepped in. Well, fuck, they did. They went in and tried to move her out. You can only do so much. You can't physically make somebody else do what you want them to. Well, you can, but it's not legal in that sense. And it's a complicating factor. You don't know all the it's one thing if you're in the courtroom and you're hearing to all this go down. We're not even at that stage yet in my mind. And so what? And so what would have CPS or Children's Aid would have done? They didn't do their job in this circumstance according to the same people anyway that want to complain that way. They don't run in because you want, in 6 months they're going to disappear, right? And be presumed dead. There's ways to go about things, and those processes were already incorporated into Jack and Lily's life. Shay, did my daughter have a hard time going to bed? mine when growing up didn't nap much, even when a baby. Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah. It was an issue for a little while, and then it wasn't. You know, the problem with all of that is that when you deal with autism, or in my case, my daughter's autism, there's a hard time in compromising. It's not like, even though you do, it's not like there's a big two-way conversation over explaining how important it is to keep your circadian rhythm intact. You can't impose these things upon your children. Like, I got to be up at 5:30 to go and work 12, 14 hours. That's what was tough on me. That's what drives you nuts, because you're losing sleep, and you know that all day tomorrow you're going to be tired, and there's got to be some sort of resolution to all of this. It's just something that we put up with. It's just something that I had to put up with. It sucked, but it wasn't like a continuous thing. But I've learned, listen, I've learned to adapt. I had to learn to adapt, because that's one of the things you couldn't compromise or have a conversation about it with my daughter to a point where she would understand. So it's more like getting her into the routine of doing that, which took a lot, which meant, okay, bedtime protocol is going to be different. I have to incorporate different rules, or not rules, but a different way of doing things that would be different than what you would think with a normal child in this circumstance. And all that meant is just actually adjusting my own bedtime. Who is this? In my own, well, anyway, I'm getting distracted. But I just have to adjust my own schedule. And that's always what it is with parents with special needs. That's the biggest adjustment, is making and knowing those adjustments to make to yourself. Like, there's a time where there's no fucking possible way that you would get me going to bed at 8 or 9 p.m. Now, it's like it or not, if I want my daughter to go to sleep, then I'm going to go and lay down with her until she goes to sleep, and then I'm going to sneak the hell out of the room. That's what I started doing. I'm like, there's no, so skipping the whole process of hoping she goes to sleep in that circumstance, I just go and lay down with her. That seemed to work for me, and that worked for us. Still works for us. You have to get him into that mind zone that they're already sleeping in that circumstance, and then they don't want to get out of bed, right? You know what I mean? It does work, and that was the easiest solution for me, as silly as it sounds. And it was the most difficult for me. Sometimes you think you like to go to bed and take a book with you and read your kids a good night story in that circumstance. Well, that's a perfect opportunity. So I had to start really learning how to do that, and then being happy with that. So pretty soon I'd go to bed, and it would take about 40 minutes. You got me laying down for 40 minutes. You know that I'm going to be going to sleep. So it ended up that I'm having a sleep at like 7:30 or 8:30 or 9 at night. And then it's like, well, is it really worth getting back out of bed? At the beginning I would. And then now it's just like, you know what? If I get out, like now my lifestyle's completely different than it was when she was a young child. I don't have to incorporate, travel and work and all of this into it. There's some parenting to be done, boys. So, it was a fairly simple fix in that circumstance, but it had everything to do with bedtime routines and that. We both go to bed together, and that seemed to have worked. So then there'd be problems with, food would always be an issue in our room, where my daughter would know she was safe to go out and rummage through the cupboards, and that drives me nuts. So, and no, it's not because she's hungry, it's because there's all kinds of fun things to be had, and when you get yourself hooked to sodium and sugar, it's a point of obsession, with children. If they know that there is like salt and vinegar chips in there, or a cupboard full of candy, they'll be in there, or my daughter will be in there in the middle of the night when everybody else is sleeping. So I had to put, tie us down or lock us in our bedrooms at night in order for her to realize that she wasn't going to be able to get out in that circumstance and raid my fridge every time that I ended up sleeping. Because what would happen is my daughter would wait till I start snoring and then get up and go out and have her way with my refrigerator or the cupboards. And of course, that's just not going to happen because it gets too expensive. But it's fine. It works itself out. Now it's no problem. Preventative measures. But you have to learn what those preventative measures are, of course, and go through all of the, you have to go through those growing pains. It's all fun to giggle at right now, but it sucked when you're doing it. It's like, am I doing the right thing? Jeez, it's driving me nuts. Why can't you just listen? Why can't you just get it? It doesn't matter if there's a special need or if it's not. Kids will be kids in that sense. Kids will always be kids. Oh yeah, she's smart enough. She knows. She knows. She's wise enough to wait till dad isn't paying attention. This is why when he goes live, then she wants to. When I'm sharing all of this emotion, she wants to get in the way and become a part of it in that sense. She's competing for attention, but I have to give you my attention. Don't you feel so lucky? Oh shit. It sure can be frustrating, but it's parenting, isn't it? Anyway, there's nothing about Jack and Lily in that circumstance that would lead me to believe that there is an issue with autism. And you know what? The fact that they used it, we were talking about it in the way that they portray in the paperwork, but it would otherwise be clear. They would have an explanation at that moment as to why they think autism is a factor in all of this. They just wanted to use that to get searchers thinking a certain way, and it worked. They took the information, and pretty soon, as soon as it goes right down the newswire, they're talking about, 2 autistic kids gone missing. Oh, here we go again. They wanted to utilize everybody else's disability for their own nefarious reasons in that moment. Oh fuck, don't thank me. I could be a lot better of a parent. By the time you realize that, I am starting to learn a little something, it's far too late. I should have known at the time. Parenting, like anything's all about learning, man. You've got to love to learn about things. I wish my parents thought that way. Life would have been easier on me. Excuse me. Three or four on the property and 6 months down, 0. Michelle After Dark still calls them autistic. She needs a kick in her crotch then. What an idiot. Well, that's what you're telling me. Maybe you just get me wound up. She probably says that to remind you that that's what was reported in the 911 dispatch, like it does in this paperwork. I'll tell you right now, there's no possible way that they would ever get that diagnosis. Yeah, and it didn't go very far. It got shot down. You're right, Big North Marty. Good to see you. Coming up there from which national or Ontario provincial park are you near? French River? Fuck, dude. You got a place I can move into up there? You have a place I can move into, Big North Marty. I'll go right now. I'll get the hell out of the city. Get up there to the French River. I should be fishing this morning. I should be fishing every morning. Ice fishing, making content. Yeah, no, Big North Marty says, not to mention they used autism once and once only from what I remember. Well, it was in the beginning when it mattered. And you're reading it here in the paperwork. And she mentioned it. And let me remind you, she didn't mention autism. She mentioned possible autism. So is what's her name? Mr. Hemi? What's her name? Michelle After Dark? Is Michelle referring to it as possible autism? What the fuck is possible autism? I'd like to report a possible autism. We got attempted autism. It's possible autism. Like, what sort of parent says that? You're either going through the process of getting a diagnosis or you're not. The fact that you don't know and don't know the difference, Malaya, is disgusting and disturbing at this point in time, that you want to put a label on your children like that. Well, anything to take the to steer the conversation away from the alternative to that, which would be severe neglect. Severely neglected. The Angry Rabbit, yeah, the way that they're portraying it, it is victim blaming in the sense. Yeah, it is. It is so, you know it. It's along the lines with just insisting that they voluntarily left and never came back without providing any context. That's really distancing. Oh, just another day around here. We're typically ignoring the kids and they fucked off. You know, what else do you want to say? That's how they presented it. Typical day. We were ignoring the kids. Everybody's in bed ignoring the kids. They got their balls deep into our cupboards, just rattling the $10 worth of fucking food we have left away. Nothing would get you up faster than from a bed than kids rummaging through your damn cupboards behind your back as a parent. Oh, kids are rummaging through the fridge and the cupboards again, uncontrolled at 4 and 6 years old. Why don't you make me a steak? Why don't you fry me up a steak while you're in there? Come on. At 4 and 6 years old, they should have plenty of oversight, plenty of constant engagement with parents. And you never really get that from them at this point. It's like they are avoiding the kids. These are 4 and 6 year old children. They should be like, you should be walking around the house and they'll be hanging off each one of your legs. Just all loving mom and dad. Can we have some more of this, that, and the other? Let's do this, that. Let's play. It's none of that going on here. Yeah, not to mention, well, listen, fucking nonsense. They misrepresented the children from the get-go. And the fact that Malaya isn't even actually, if you want to split hairs, she's not using autism. She's using possible autism, which isn't even a thing. It's not even a thing. In the moment, you're not going to really focus on it. You're just going to put down that mom says that the kids are autistic, special needs. We'll come to find out, I don't think they are. But the thing is that Malaya said on camera that she thinks that, and what we get from it, the only thing that we've heard is that she thinks that way because the teachers at school, which is telling you that it would have to come through their most recent interactions with Children's Aid Society, because that's what's most typical about it, is either the children are showing signs of severe neglect or there's possible autism involved, and steps need to be taken in order to either rule it out through the medical process Not from your doctor, but it's a different scenario. I don't know who's in charge of it in Nova Scotia. Here it would be, or it was Thames Valley in my area. It'll be to your particular area. But there's not a whole bunch of doctors that can hand out diagnosis for autism. There's only usually one that represents either the entire province. Nova Scotia probably is. It was in Ontario. There might be two now. But it used to be a guy by the name of Dr. Mervyn Fox. And when he gave my daughter his diagnosis, the guy was 95 years old at that point in time. And I could get into deeper about it, but I don't want to get sidetracked. It's not a perfect process to begin with. But the risk factor to parents, okay? The problem comes in as the problems come in as if you know as a parent that there's something wrong with your children, you almost have to get them labeled as autistic to get any sort of future help or in any programs, or else you're going to be really behind, or there's going to be issues because it's going to be challenging on you as a parent. Meaning more expensive. Your child care and everything else is completely different. It's just not that you can take a special needs child and package them up and throw them in with the rest of society. Special needs. And that's a difficult adjustment. So what we're searching for is this more information from the paperwork, from what they stated about the conversations between Cindy and Malaya. And the last time that Cindy said she saw the kids, and I'm pretty sure it was in this conversation, I just don't remember exactly when these conversations occurred. Was it the Wednesday night? Was it the Thursday? And it comes and ties back into why people believe the kids made it back in the first place, as opposed to people getting their theories from the last time that they were seen at the Dollarama on video. That's a public confirmation. The RCMP confirmed that they were last seen in public through that video. So why don't they acknowledge the last time that they were seen was Cindy in a video call? I don't know. That's why I want to find this. Don't know. Being Florida, it's not a testing. It's not necessarily a testing. They're 3 and 4, by the way. Even to get in that line, okay? Do you know how long it takes to even get in? Well over a year. It's a process. You've got to start the process. It's not like you can call Monday, be in Tuesday, and get a diagnosis. There is a big process, and it takes years to even get a diagnosis in some cases. It's a real big pain in the ass. But it's there for a reason. And when they get to be 18, then you get to go and try to get an updated diagnosis. Because things change by the time, they're 4 or 5 or 6 and they become 18. It's not I don't even want to talk about Canada's medical system and their free Medicare. By the way, that doesn't have anything to do with the diagnosis process for autism. Our free healthcare has nothing to do with that. So the statements void of any logic. I apologize. But I understand that looking on the surface and reacting, you would say that, but essentially it doesn't have anything to do with another. But it comes down to, no matter what it is we're sitting up here bullshitting and arguing about, is Malaya's use of the term possible autism. It's Malaya's use that we're concerned about today. So there's two ways. Just like the States, it's tiered. One, if you've got the money, and two, if you don't have the money. And the one is a lot quicker than the other. It's the same in getting the diagnosis too. It is now. And by the way, it's always changing. So it's different. Like I got my diagnosis way back in 2009, and that was after waiting 2 years. And fuck, the day I screwed up my paperwork, the big day came, and I forgot my paperwork. So it was completely a waste of time going that day. I fucked up. Really. Yeah, I remember that. So I had to go back through it again. I had to do it again, but we actually went back in 2 weeks after that. Not like years, but still, I held up the process, I felt. But I tell you what, I wish I knew now. I wish I knew then what I know now about autism and what to expect and et cetera, et cetera. I don't need to share any personal anecdotes. But let me see here. Let's get back to this. Talking about Janie's statements here. Janie's dog started barking, and that woke her up. She heard Lily and Jack in the backyard playing on the swings and laughing. Hee 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 hee. Then dozed off again. She woke up again when she heard Daniel yelling. See, I hate stories like that. I hate stories like that. So you're telling people that you remember when you're falling asleep and when you're waking up in that sense. It's so bizarre, so convenient. Anyway, I'm not going to get sidetracked. Her dog started barking and that woke her up. She heard Lily and Jack in the backyard playing on the swings and laughing, then dozed off again. She woke up again when she heard Daniel yelling. When he was yelling for Jack and Lily. She didn't think anything of it because... but I didn't think anything of it. I can almost hear Janie saying this. She didn't think anything of it because Jack liked to look for bugs and gets into things when he's doing that. So she thought Daniel might have been yelling at Jack for that reason. Why is it important to say that? Is that, just overcompensating? I don't know. When she came outside after waking up again, how many times are you going to wake up in the morning? You got up, you had your fucking coffee, you had your tea, you had your caffeine, you have your smokes, and then you go back and doze back off again. Now you have to get up and go through the process again. You're waking up twice in the morning. That's weird. That's weird AF. That's weird to me. When she came outside after waking up again, she saw Malaya standing at the rock pile holding Meadow. Well, what else is there to do in the RV? Malaya said Jack and Lily were missing for a boat redacted, and she had called 911. Janie got her coat and boots and walked around looking for them. Daniel was searching for them. Her brother called again around 10:19 a.m. What's with all the calls to your brother? That's Logan's dad. Malaya called her mother, Cindy, who came to the house. When her mother arrived, Malaya talked to her and said, I told you they had autism. Family members started to show up. One of her brothers went to get an ATV. One of Janie's brothers went to get an ATV. And they continued searching. Janie said for the rest of Friday, she searched for the kids with her family members. This whole search is a little bit bizarre. Like, it seems a bit like a pantomime, or like a reason not to be around the cops and answer any questions to really emphasize that the kids have walked out. Like, I mean, it's possible that they're that stupid. But they couldn't, again, have gotten that far. And we're worried about how legit the last people to see Jack and Lily alive, their stories are. And the rationale behind their behaviors and actions that day. Well, Janie provided some background information. Oh, can we hardly wait? Janie was concerned about the timeline because there was no way the kids could have walked from the yard up to the road where Daniel was in a vehicle without her seeing them. It's so interesting that they start at the same time. So, right from the get-go, the people that were last on that property with Jack and Lily want to introduce what probably happened because they called. They said the kids have left. They're gone. And then they want to provide doubt as to why the story that they presented doesn't make sense. Now, it's not coming from the same person necessarily, but it's still questionable in my mind. Like, why? Like, why are you doubting it, Janie? Is it to seem, is it to drive home that mystery? To make it look, give them an opening to an alternative reason that they are gone? As opposed to just volunteering to leave the trailer themselves. Janie said when the kids were in the yard, she usually watched them the most. All redacted. Goes on to say, she said the kids were in school on Monday and Tuesday because the bus picked them up right outside their house. Wednesday was an in-service day, and they were home. But they went to their grandmother's house to do laundry and didn't get home until 10 p.m. Thursday. Wednesday was an in-service day and they were home. But they went to their grandmother's house to do laundry and didn't get home until 10 p.m. Thursday. So they were at Patty's from Wednesday to Thursday night at 10 p.m. They didn't go to school, but they were in the yard playing through the day and she gave them snacks. I'm unclear about this comment. Wednesday was an in-service day and they were home, but they went to their grandmother's on Wednesday to do laundry and didn't get home until 10 p.m. Thursday. They didn't go to school, but they were in the yard playing through the day, which day, and she gave them snacks. Like, which day are you fucking talking about? Wednesday or Thursday? It doesn't say. Janie said Malaya and Daniel are having financial difficulties. Big redaction. Lines. Janie said Jack would not go for a walk on his own. She said she, Jack, and Lily and Daniel went for walks. Why not Malaya? Went for walks in the woods all the time, and they had to carry Jack sometimes because he got tired and would just sit in one place. Well, yeah, he's a little kid. Janie said she does not believe the kids are in the woods. Again. So the problem with Janie, the problem with going against this going into the woods theory is that you need to provide an alternative. Like, therefore, then I don't think, there's no way that these kids walked into the woods. Will somebody pay attention to me? We can't find them. There's no way that they walked into these woods. Therefore, somebody else fucking has them. Let's go. Like, why is there no commitment at any point in time about that? Not that they needed to introduce a stranger abduction, but they need to, they're the ones who bring it up, but not finishing the statements. Like, there's a reason why they're bringing it up. There's a reason why you're saying you don't believe the kids are in the woods. Why is it? They never, ever want to explain themselves. That's a problem. Page 9. 19. Malaya provided 4 statements to police. 2 statements were provided on May 2nd, 2025. One on May 3rd, 2025, and one on May 4th, 2025. The following is a summary of what she said. One moment, please. Get out of here, son. It's too sunny for you. I can't read. I can't read the screen. Too sunny. It's too beautiful out there right now, guys. On the day Jack and Lily went missing, she heard them playing in the other room and was going in and out of sleep. Can you effing believe that? Okay, on the day Jack and Lily went missing, she heard them playing in the other room and was going in and out of sleep. Lily came in the room around redacted a couple of times. Daniel was sleeping the whole time and didn't really wake up. What does that mean? Daniel was busy sleeping the entire time and he didn't really wake up. What does that mean? We've got possible autism, whatever the hell possible autism is, and not really asleep. Fuck. Lily came in the room around redacted a couple times. Daniel was sleeping the whole time and didn't really wake up. What does didn't really mean? He didn't really wake up. So he woke up, or he kind of woke up. Do you see? So ambiguous. She didn't hear them anymore around redacted. So she's so astute in the middle of drifting in and out of sleep. She is just so sharp as a tack, isn't she? How would you even know during all of this? The fact, there's no possible way you could tell a story this way and have it be believable. So why did you? It's distancing. They want you to think that they're in and out of sleep, so therefore you have to take it with a grain of salt, or they're not really sure. It's an okay scenario to be wishy-washy. You're either sure or you're not sure. You're either sleeping or you're not sleeping. You don't know because you're asleep, but there's no such thing as not really. What did she say? How did she type that? There's no such thing. Daniel was sleeping the whole time and didn't really wake up. What does that statement mean, dude? Does that not infuriate you when you read it? Well, she has to write down what she said. Like, what, you have to take the report. Oh, he didn't really wake up. God damn. She didn't hear them anymore around redacted, so she got up and they couldn't find them. So they called 911. There's this they. There's this they. There's no I in here. There's they. We, this collective. It's collective. So she got up and they couldn't find them. She got up and they couldn't find them. What about we got up? So she got up and they couldn't find them. So they called 911. See what we did there? Can you believe this shit is in a police report? The police came and got statements. Everyone was frantically searching for them. Malaya did not think this would take days. Malaya discussed what happened earlier in the week. That is such a bad statement. Like, she's hiding something already. She's all over the place in that statement right there in the first one. Heaven's sakes. The cops... had to have been suspicious, you know? Malaya discussed what happened earlier in the week. The kids went to school on Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday was a professional development day, so they were off. She kept them home on Thursday and Friday. Malaya said she doesn't remember what they did on Wednesday. Specifically, she gave a detailed description about what happened on Thursday. So Wednesday, didn't you go to Patty's? And you kept the kids at Patty's to do all that fucking laundry? You can't remember that? Did all the laundry and you didn't get home till 10 p.m. on Thursday. Isn't that what we just read? She's frustrating to get a statement from, isn't she? She doesn't remember. There's a big thing in my mind. Oh, she doesn't remember what they did. I'm sorry, I don't remember what I did on Wednesday. It's Friday. I have no idea. I don't remember. Are we supposed to take you as that much of an airhead? Malaya said she doesn't remember what they did on Wednesday. Specifically, she gave a detailed description of what happened on Thursday. Okay, well, let's read it. Malaya kept Lily and Jack home from school on Thursday morning because they had a cough. Well, you sure were trucking them around, Hell's Half Acre, for being sick. And you're just ignoring them. They're sick and rummaging through all of these different places. Well, they weren't sick enough to take off, allegedly. Man, she contacted the school through the app at 6:18 a.m. The kids got up. Well, so these were 2 days. So what day was this? On Thursday, 6:18 a.m.? Well, why don't you just report them off for the rest of the week on Thursday? Why didn't you report them? Why didn't you report them for Friday as well? Why did you have to wait till Friday to report them sick that day when you knew that they were sick on Thursday or Wednesday? I wonder what the answer is. It's not that that's a real daunting question. Just could be because that's how she did it. The kids got up and came into their bedroom. Meadow was already up and in bed with Malaya. Well, where the hell was she going to go? They got up and headed out to get kids breakfast. So why didn't you do the same thing on Friday as you did Thursday, I wonder? They wanted the TV on and they wanted to play with their toys. Doesn't sound very autistic to me. Everyone woke up around 9 a.m. Malaya said she tidied the house. Malaya said she tidied the house throughout the day and looked after the kids. For tidying the house, it sure looks like a shithole, by the way. She said she also scrolled her phone at one point because she was overstimulated. Why was she overstimulated? She was overstimulated from cleaning. Oh, I better stop cleaning. Oh, I better stop. I'm overstimulated. So then you go to a stimulation device to get unstimulated? That's not how it works, honey. She doesn't even know what it is that she's saying. I'm overstimulated, then I'm going to go and turn my phone on. No, you generally go outside and touch some grass and get some sunshine on you. It's a breath of fresh air. Take a little walk, get some exercise. Okay? Not go to your phone and get more stimulated. When you're talking about being overstimulated, you're talking about your mind. So how is it that you're not on your phone and you're getting overstimulated from the cleaning process? It's more like I'm too fucking lazy to continue to clean and I'm going to my phone. It has nothing to do with being overstimulated. That makes no sense. Whatever. We'll continue reading. Not much makes sense when it comes to Malaya's explanations. Let's see. She had redacted in New Glasgow in the afternoon on Thursday. Blood work. And she and Daniel went with all of the kids. They drove her 2017 white Nissan Pathfinder. They went to the big stop for gas, and she thought they might have gotten the kids bagels at Tim Hortons. Daniel stayed in the car with the kids, and she got redacted. Then they went to Starbucks. So you went to 2 coffee places. You went to Starbucks and Tim Hortons. You just go to the grocery store and get some ground up coffee and maybe a bunch of stuff like cheese, meat, bread. Discover the joys of making sandwiches. It's a lot cheaper. So let's say there's 25, 45, 50 bucks. Jesus Christ. You guys. Priorities for these guys, right? Priorities are stopping by the drive-thru. They went to the big stop for gas. Well, I think we might have gotten them bagels. Well, I think so. I just don't know. I'm not quite sure. What is with this not remembering? Like, it's like, that makes no sense. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. Well, take a moment and try to remember until you can remember. And then you remembered, right? How is it an answer, not remembering the answer, and then you move on and that's good enough? You don't think it's important? I don't buy that shit. So this is 2 parts now that she's used the old I can't remember. They went to Tim Hortons and Starbucks before going home. In the evening, she was going to do some cleaning, but she was too tired. What evening of what? What day was this that you were too tired? The Thursday? So yeah, she gives a detailed description of what happened on Thursday. She was too tired on Thursday when they got home. But she doesn't know what she did Wednesday. Hey, dummy. You went to Patty's to do laundry on Wednesday and you stayed overnight there. How is it you can't remember that? How is it? Well, you don't need to feel for me being in Florida. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I see what you're saying. Excuse me, I got sidetracked. I'm just sharing previous times. You don't need to feel bad for me. I'm happy. Now. She said that she doesn't remember what she did on Wednesday. But yet she's remembering it really right here when she comes home with all of those bags of clean clothes. You don't think that would have triggered your memory? You know, the clothes that you didn't want to put away? That's what you did Wednesday. They went in the evening. She was going to do some cleaning. But she was too tired. The kids were watching a show on TV. She put Lily and Jack in bed first. Then Meadow, and then went to bed herself. Malaya said that they were late getting to bed that night and went around 9 p.m. They usually go around 7 p.m. Lily was wearing a pink sweater and pink pajamas with white shapes and a Barbie top with pink socks. Who goes to bed with socks on, dude? Her hair was shoulder length. You don't go to bed with socks. Why does she have socks on? Why do you have her going to bed with socks on? You get up and go out, you put socks on before you put your shoes on. But you take your socks off before you get in the bed. Jesus Christ. Her hair, let me see here. Lily was wearing a pink sweater and pink pajamas with white shapes and a Barbie top with pink socks. Her hair was shoulder length and her backpack was beside her. Jack was wearing black sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a diaper as he was only partially trained. So here we go. Daniel stayed up, tweaking out. Daniel stayed up. He said he was going to clean the house for her. but it wasn't clean when she got up, and she doesn't know what he did. See this part? Normally, he did little projects around the house at night and fixed things. No, he's up all night tweaking, dude. He's up tweaking, focused on weird things, when he should otherwise be laying in a bed beside you. Okay? Being the man of the house. So clearly there's a disconnect between Daniel and Malaya here. Like, this is a typical thing. And there's no way that Daniel would be ready to be going to bed. The kids are out of his way. He wants to stay up, tweak out, trip out. That's what happens. Okay? Daniel stayed up. He said he was going to clean the house for her, but it wasn't clean when she got up, so she doesn't know what he did. Well, this is the question that night, isn't it? I'm not sure what he did, but I was sleeping. Well, we can believe that for the time being. So the question is, what was Daniel doing? What was Daniel doing that night, that Thursday night, the night in which he wants us to believe? Well, fuck, he's represented it all sorts of different ways, right? At first, he wanted us to believe that he was sleeping as well the entire night. But her statement early on already fits into the neighbor's account of hearing activity and the car leaving. What is it, 6 times in those 5 hours? Yeah, 6 times in those 5 hours between midnight and 5 a.m. So what happened after 9 p.m. when Daniel stayed up? Now, I wonder if Jack and Lily, in that circumstance, they went to bed just tickety-boo and everything was fantastic. All of the things that you would normally go through at bedtime. Well, maybe Daniel just bailed out somewhere and he was off ignoring the kids somewhere else. Don't know, but it brings up the question. Daniel stayed up. He said he was going to clean the house for her, but it wasn't clean when she got up. Fuck, that's been the same thing. This is like Groundhog Day around there. What is it he does around there when you go to bed? He's working on things. Well, I was working on the dilithium extractor out back. Mining dilithium crystals. She continued by giving a detailed description of what happened on Friday. So we've got this big hole, this time frame, this hole between 9 p.m. and 12 a.m. on the Thursday, May 1st. Now we're getting into Friday, May 2nd, 12:01 a.m. And remember, there's a witness that lives beside Daniel, completely detached from anything that was going on, that reported of stick shift vehicle coming and going from that house 6 times in 5 hours. Oh, boy, is that key. And, of course, Daniel Janie shown great sensitivities to this neighbor, going as far as preemptively, before we even knew what the hell he was talking about, talking about how he's a scofflaw, he's in trouble with the law, he's breaking the law over there. He was doing something to get the heat off of himself, according to Daniel, as though that actually even made sense in the first place. But in the moment, it shows you that he was reliant on the old bullshit, right? He's bluffing. Just to get him out of that question and on to the next. Oh, yeah, I know where that came from, and he's doing it just to get the heat off of himself. No, actually, that was quite a pertinent, he was adamant. He heard something. Of course, he's sensitive about that area. He doesn't want to go into it because it implicates him into being a suspect. And he is a suspect. But you need to disregard that because of why? Because Daniel asked you to. No, you don't disregard that. On Friday morning, Malaya's alarm went off at 6 a.m. Well, what happened to the previous 6 hours there, honey baby? What's up with the 6, 7, 8, 9 hours that preceded your 6 a.m. wake-up call? That's where the day begins. That's where their timeline on the Friday begins. There's a big problem. Major avoidance. They didn't even acknowledge the previous 9 hours. Even if you were fast asleep. Who was in my chat just earlier? Weren't you talking? What would you bring up? That she was up 7 times in the night? I never even heard that before. But wasn't that statement I just read in my chat earlier? You can say that again. or bring it up again so I can read it. I can't remember what you're mentioning. On Friday morning, Malaya's alarm went off. Burp, burp, burp. And another one at 6:15 a.m. Oh. Which was when she used the school app to mark them both sick for that day. Could have saved yourself a lot of time, honey, and just reported them ill for the next 2 days the day before on Thursday. Malaya then went back to sleep. Daniel and Meadow were still sleeping. Well, kind of sleeping. And there was no other noise in the house on Friday morning. Well, that's weird. See, that's different than what Daniel says. On Friday morning, Malaya's alarm went off. She says, okay, let me skip. Malaya then went back to sleep. Daniel and Meadow were still sleeping. Don't you mean kind of sleeping? And were still sleeping. There was no other noise in the house. No other noise in the house? At that 6:15 time, okay. Malaya heard the kids playing in their bedroom around redacted. They woke Meadow up, so she took her into bed and turned the TV on for her, then faded in and out of sleep. What? That's so ridiculous. You should be up getting breakfast ready, mother. The kids were giggling, laughing, and talking to each other. The kids were in the room right next to theirs. So they were, So they were loud. How would you know? You're drifting in and out of sleep. Around redacted, she heard silence and told Dan, this is a fucking problem. Pardon my language. Around redacted, she heard silence. Now, is there any other police or law enforcement around that has a problem with any time somebody says they acknowledge hearing silence? In a situation like this, yeah. She heard silence and told Daniel she didn't hear the kids. So he's already sleeping. What the fuck does it matter? They got up together and checked in the living room and outside. Then started yelling for them. When they didn't hear any answer, she called 911 at 10 a.m. She had to turn off Wi-Fi to get bars of cellular service and call from one spot in the house where there is good service. Daniel walked around yelling for them to see if he would get a reply, and eventually took her Nissan Pathfinder to go look for them in the woods. Janie was also out looking for them. She had the baby, so she could not go look. I'm pretty sure that you could have set the baby down in the bassinet and went out and had a quick little brewski around. Especially when it comes to your kids and your other kids. Probably could have did something. The fact that you can't go look because you had Meadow, what does that have to do with anything? Put her in her onesie. Let's go. Tie her to your back. Put her in the child seat in the car and drive around with her in the child seat. Malaya said she did not think the kids had changed their clothes from the night before. Look, come on, man. Another scenario which she's, as mother, detached. So you just don't remember. There's no mention of any pull-up changes. You're always keeping a dry pull-up. You don't wait till the damn thing gets filled and droops all over Hell's Half Acre and turns into jelly. That usually happens after they wake up, right? They wake up in the morning and holy shit, the first thing you got to do is change the pull-up because she's a bit full. But what I'm saying that is that you would note all of these times, whether them be pull-up changes, or that would be your first priority. Their priority is Jack up doing whatever he wants to do for God knows how long. No, there's no time like that. Come on. You keep your kids clean. It's so fucking ridiculous the way that she's telling this. Like she's distancing herself. Like, oh, you wouldn't know, you can't remember the last times your kids changed. You don't even want to hazard a guess. You don't even have a structured schedule around it. Like usually the problems is that you can't keep the same clothes on the kids because they want to change into something else. Malaya said that she does not think the kids had changed their clothes from the night before and Lily's backpack was gone, so she assumed she had it with her. A lot of assumptions going on here. She described it as corduroy cream colored backpack with strawberries on it. Jack and Lily boots were gone. Lily was wearing size 13, rainbow pink boots, and Jack was wearing size 10, olive dinosaur boots. Regarding their normal routine, she said the following. So hold on here. Why are they... I mean, did they bring up the boots? Why did they bring up the boots? So it goes on to say, she clarified on a regular morning when the kids go to school, she's up at 6:15 a.m. and she gets the kids ready, fed, and their teeth brushed before having them out to the bus by 7:28 a.m. The bus stops in their driveway. She also clarified their sleeping arrangements. Meadow, Daniel, and Malaya share a room. Lily and Jack also share a room, but they divided it in two because they would be up all hours of the night when it was open concept. So I'm interested to know this room. What do they've got a partition? They got a partition they put in between them? Like what separates that room into actually being two rooms? It sounds more like they're both isolated from one another. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't there, they would be getting into things as opposed to being up and into things in the morning. Like what it would the problem would be the same. It's the same problem. I wonder what that room looks like. I wonder what the room looks like is what I'm trying to say. She also clarified their sleeping arrangements. We just read that. So redacted are Daniel's children. They do not normally live with them. They stay with their mom. They were not there at all the week Jack and Lily went missing. The next section's redacted. Regarding the children in general, Malaya said the following. Lily and Jack did not have a relationship with their biological father. He had not seen them since October 2021 when Malaya left him because he did not pay child support, which is untrue. And there's a big redacted portion there. So she took the opportunity to lie on Cody's back. But as well, it's interesting that she volunteers that Cody has not been in the kids or seen the kids in years, but yet brought him up as you know, a way to distract or sidestep by making him a probable suspect in the kidnapping of her Jack and Lily in this circumstance. You kind of shot yourself in the foot in that sense. It's hard to pin it on somebody else like that when he hasn't been in the picture for all of these years. Regarding Daniel, Malaya said the following. They have been together for 3 years. Redacted. There's all their problems right there. Redacted. All their problems are redacted. Daniel, excuse me, Daniel worked every Monday at Redacted. Hardwood sawmill, oh, that would be nice smelling. They were having a hard time getting wood in, so he only worked once a day, a week. You can only sweep so many wood chips off the floor. Let's see. She said when he was not working, Daniel would tweak out most of the time. Whoop, did I really read that? No. Daniel would help his mother with building the fence and bringing in wood because they use wood heat. That's what he said he's doing. Fuck, it doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that long. That's just part of your chores to bring in wood. Well, you keep the wood in the wood bin by the fireplace, right? The place wasn't lacking in wood. It's just a reason. It sounds like he likes to tweak out with wood. Tweakers always have a thing that they like to fixate on. And what's up with this everlasting fence? The fence for the dog out at Janie's RV. So it didn't seem like he was really... So this is so bizarre to me. Just a little bit of side note. Think about how all over the place these people are. Now it's finally really come out about how the living arrangements in this circumstance. So do you really think that Janie is just so into where she is that she's actually thinking about bringing in a pool to continue the living arrangements as they were? No, you didn't. The living arrangements were not supposed to be permanent. So how is it you're bullshitting us with putting in a pool under the presumption that this is just a happy environment for the kids? It's contradictory, at best. But it's just a question, just a thought. Don't you think your time would have been better well spent in finding a new job or a different job or different living arrangements or improving the living conditions that you were in? It seemed to be that there might have been a little bit of that, but you should just get a trash bin, brother. Instead of just having to touch things more than once. Like when you pick it up and you move it 20 feet, like if there's garbage in your living room and you bag it up and you just throw that garbage bag in the fucking backyard, it's not really actually cleaning anything up. It's creating another mess. And you end up having to touch it more than once. But it does technically clean up that particular room. But that's what seems to be life there. All of this shit ends up outside. Get a bin and take it to the dump once, or put it out by the curb. She said when he was not working, Daniel would help his mother with building the fence. Like, that's a big job. Like, you could put up a fence in a day. It takes you 5 minutes to get some wood. She said he is an involved parent and would help her, especially when she was overwhelmed. How would you get overwhelmed? Like, what was overwhelming about the scenario that you were in? He was not aggressive with the kids, but had a voice they listened to. There was never any physical discipline. Now, see, discipline and physical discipline would imply that there is some sort of structure or rules that they had to abide by, rather than just being swatted and kicked and chased and yelled at and intimidated. That's not discipline either. That's bullying. All redacted. Next part is redacted. They discussed what happened earlier that day. Malaya said she went to the police command post, to see what was happening firsthand up by Lansdowne Lake. She redacted. She said there is currently a lot of conflict between her and Daniel's side of the family. Woo! She provided the following information. So that's so interesting right now. That's interesting. She said that there is currently a lot of conflict between her and Daniel's side of the family. There's a lot of conflict between her and Logan. Well, why are they so protective over Meadow and not so protective over Jack and Lily in this circumstance? After the baby bonus. She said there is currently a lot of conflict between her and Daniel's side of the family. She provided the following information. Oh, God. 1. Daniel's family wanted her to bring the baby and stay with them, but she thought the correct decision was to stay with her mother. That is the correct decision. Finally, something you're making. Daniel pulled her aside and tried to convince her to stay, but she told him she was going with her mother. Next part is redacted. She did not know any of the conflicts in their family lives that would cause the children to be missing. She did not know any conflicts in their family lives that would cause the children to go missing. I don't believe her. And I don't believe that she would recognize it necessarily. I believe that she's avoiding. Daniel's family wanted her to bring the baby and stay with them. Why would you be bringing Meadow and staying anywhere but that beautiful trailer of Janie's? Isn't it interesting how they have introduced an alternate living arrangement for her and Meadow in the moment? Why? Shouldn't you be waiting for the kids to get home? Why would you introduce a new living arrangement for Meadow and Malaya if Janie didn't have a hand in it so she could get her trailer back? I bet you Janie wasn't sleeping in that trailer in the driveway that night or the next night. No, she's going back to sleep in her old humble abode. Trailer that she's had there for 20 some old years, the one that she loves so dearly. Her back's probably sore. She did not know any of the conflicts or of any conflicts in their family. Okay. Malaya said she had not spoken with Daniel since May 3rd, 2025. She said she blocked him and had not opened his Snapchat messages. Oh, aren't you sneaky? Aren't you sneaky there? I wonder what all of the messages on Snapchat to Malaya are. I wonder what they look like. Why don't you share us those? Why don't you send those through and let's scrutinize the hell out of those? Does anybody out there doubt that Daniel didn't expect Malaya to leave him? Or that was it was probably part of the ongoing conflict that led up to the night of May 1st and 2nd. It was an ongoing, we know it was an ongoing conflict between them. Why exactly didn't Malaya want to stay there, I wonder? It had to have everything to do with fucking Daniel and his behavior. The fact that you weren't any part of a partner because you're tweaking out and you're ignoring what would otherwise be all of the fine things in a healthy relationship that the other person would enjoy. You know what the best part of the relationship in this circumstance is? Is the fact that you're never around. You're tweaking out all the time. That doesn't sound like a healthy relationship. Now she needs to move on. She needs to get the hell up on out of that trailer. It was never supposed to be permanent in the first place. And she, as comfortable as Daniel is there, she's not that comfortable. It's not a home to Malaya. It's not a home to the kids. So what it looks like to a person like Jamie is that you've got this new hussy who's already got baggage with her, and it seems to Janie, and she would be right in that thought, or anybody whose house you moved into temporarily, that you're there leeching off of them free of charge. Okay? And what you say publicly, it's like, yeah, of course I did it because they're going through hard times, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you're still getting a free ride, asshole. And that should be priority number one, is doing what you need to do to look after your own family, as opposed to having Janie do it for you as she oversees you from the backyard. That's not an ideal scenario. It would look to Janie that there was no end to all of this. And all of a sudden, Jack and Lily were her responsibility. They're being put onto her now, financially. While you just are preoccupied with your new next child that you're going to ignore. Like, it would have been easy. I'm not trying to say that that's the way that or that's an appropriate way to treat the kids, but you can understand from Janie's perspective how it would feel in that circumstance. And that's what you put on them, Daniel and Malaya. Daniel and Malaya put that on themselves. You're taking advantage of Janie's generosity, whether she's a bitch or she's not. Doesn't matter. The fact that she's a bitch just adds she probably just reminds you all the time. And you're not gracious. You're not thankful. You guys obviously have some other difficulties. One, it has to do with your mental health, and that due to the fact that you're abusing those substances. That's what you're putting on Janie. And that's what she's being nice about and not mentioning. Oh, we really don't notice Daniel's meth addiction. Said no one ever. Can you imagine knowing one of the parents of two missing children having a meth addiction and it not having anything to do with their disappearance? Now, well, that wouldn't be like the drug, now would it? The typical things about the abuses and the effects of the drugs are always the same, no matter who it's affecting. The drugs have the same effect on anybody, everybody. That's the only atypical thing about a tweaker. Malaya again recounted what happened on Thursday night. So Malaya provided a fifth statement to Constable McIntyre on May 9th, 2025. May 9th. So that's a week. That's a Friday, a week. 7 days after they were reported missing. So 7 days after, Malaya again recounted what happened on Thursday night before the kids went missing. She said she put Jack and Lily to bed and they went to bed with Meadow. Redacted. She continued to what happened Friday morning, which was the same account she provided in her previous statements. Well, she skipped ahead she skipped ahead between, we got no account of what Daniel was doing between the hours of 9 and 6 a.m. when the alarm went off of Malaya's. They're avoiding talking about that. But we know something was going on. We know something was going on if we were to believe the neighbor's witness account that night. So somebody was up, and it was Daniel. Malaya, was she sleeping? It would be hard to sleep through all of the ruckus going around the place. Like, anytime Malaya is going to sleep, Daniel always stays up around the house to fix things. Fuck, do you know how long that would fly with any normal girlfriend? Not very long. No, you guys go to bed together. That's kind of the reason. That's kind of the thing, right? You do these things. But a tweaker's not going to understand that, nor care in the moment. Again, we're still trying to find this Cindy Malaya conversation. It's probably in a different paper, but we'll get there. She continued to what happened Friday morning, which was the same account she provided in her previous statements. In addition to what was already said, she provided the following new information. Malaya said when Daniel was looking for the kids, he opened the front door. He put a wrench on top of the door the night before. It didn't fall down. So Daniel said they must have gone out the back sliding door. So Daniel introduced that. The door was shut, but the kids would normally leave it open if they went outside like normal kids would. They never think about closing the door behind them, do they? They're too excited. That's typical child behavior. The door was shut, but the kids would normally leave it open if they went outside because it was so heavy. There are times when they would close it. Malaya said Lily and Jack did not normally wander on their own. See, that contradicts her earlier initial statement and report. That's completely contradictory to what she told the 911 dispatch. We just read that. Lily and Jack did not normally wander on their own. Well, that's completely different to telling the dispatch that they're probably or possibly autistic and are known to wander, isn't it? That's completely the polar opposite. So which one is true? The fact that that Malaya reported both is a huge red flag. That's well established. That's completely bass-ackwards. Malaya said Lily and Jack did not normally wander on their own, while you told dispatch the opposite, but we'll overlook that for now. They would redacted, but not by themselves. Malaya said she had a conversation with Janie in the yard and told her the kids were missing. Not according to Daniel. He said that he was in that he told. But Janie got ready and went to look for them. She told Malaya she heard them outside playing and Daniel yelling. Malaya, see what they're doing? They're all each other's little alibi here so far. Malaya said she does not think she opened her phone or sent any messages around that time. Well, why don't you check? She did not call her mother. She did call her mother and her grandmother after she called the police. She said he used Text Plus because it allowed Wi-Fi calling. She since deleted the app because she doesn't need it anymore. She did not use Text Plus to call 911 because it does not let you. Malaya said during the day, Daniel had erratic behavior towards the police officers. She thought he was very standoffish, and Daniel thought they weren't doing enough. What does it expect? What exactly do you expect them to do? What that means is that Daniel wanted it to go a little bit differently. He wanted an Amber Alert. He wanted people to be looking as far away from him as possible, as though there was this was a kidnapping, a stranger abduction. Why would you ever want that? Why would you ever want that, imply that, but never actually commit to saying that on camera for people? Malaya said that during the day, Daniel had erratic behavior towards the police. She's not the only one. So there, Malaya identified the erratic behavior. That's because he's under the influence. Just like that tweaker we watched a little bit earlier. Malaya said she was up late on Friday night. She put Meadow to bed and then stayed up. Daniel came in and just went to sleep. This is the night after they were reported missing, that Friday. Malaya said she was up late Friday night. She put Meadow to bed but stayed up. Daniel came in and just went to sleep. So what did you do? She thought he was tired from searching all day. She said she only got a couple hours of sleep. It was after 3 a.m. the last time she checked her phone, and she was up again around 6 a.m. Constable McIntyre asked Malaya to look in her phone to confirm her timeline for Thursday. She provided the following information. At 6:29 a.m., Malaya received a message to confirm the kids were marked absent from school. Malaya said it was a slow morning. They didn't do a lot other than get breakfast, watch TV, and play. Shouldn't they be resting? I thought they were sick. Malaya had a video call from her mother, Cindy, at 3:37 p.m. on Thursday to see the kids. Here we go. Cindy would have seen the kids on the phone. Did she? Malaya had a video call from her mother, Cindy, at 3:37 p.m. on Thursday. That must have been at Patty's. Because they said that they were at Patty's doing laundry Wednesday, stayed over, and didn't get home till 10 p.m. on Thursday. Right? Right. Remember, you were too tired to put away all the clean clothes you just washed? You couldn't remember? Malaya had a video call from her mother, Cindy, at 3:37 p.m. on Thursday that would have had to have been at Patty's to see the kids. Also, Patty could have offered confirmation that the kids were indeed at her house doing laundry Wednesday and Thursday. No? Yeah, I think that would probably be true. Cindy would have seen the kids on the phone. How come there's no mention of Patty seeing the kids when they were washing? I guess it's just how they get the information, right? Okay. Malaya went through and showed Constable McIntyre her banking transactions on Thursday to see if they could narrow down the timeline, but she said Daniel used his card for the purchases that day. Money bags. Malaya showed Constable McIntyre her Google Map timeline, which tracked her movements on Thursday. She went to the following places. They left their home at 12:10 p.m. and drove for 39 minutes. Then from 12:49 to 1:27, Malaya was shown at a missing visit, which she thought was her redacted. What the hell does that mean? Oh, her doctor, missed visit. They went to Dollarama at 1:44. She said she went in and grabbed a few things. So this is Thursday? Okay, so while she was at Patty's, they must have did some traveling as well? Is that what I'm to understand? They went to Dollarama at 1:44. She said she went in and grabbed a few things. They went to Lawton's at 2:48 p.m. She remembered they packed up some Tylenol and diaper rash cream from Meadow because she was teething. They drove between 2:52 and 3:11 p.m. and arrived home that evening. Arrived home. So somewhere in here, there's a fucking typo, guys. There's something funny going on here. There's something funny in the details. So what happened to arriving home at 10 p.m. on Thursday night? They drove between 2:52 and 3:11 p.m. and arrived home at 3:11 p.m. Well, what did they do between 3:11 and 10 p.m.? This is fucking wonky. They drove and arrived home that evening. She got the kids something to eat and they went and they were watching TV. She said they might have gone outside sometime to play. But they came in when it was getting dark. She got their teeth brushed and they wore their clothes to bed because all of the clothes were still in the bags from when she washed them at her grandmother's house. And she hadn't gotten around to putting them away. Lily and Jack were hyper and excited. Were they? But she got them tucked into bed around 10 p.m. Jack had his blanket and his dinosaur, and she shut his door. Redacted. Redacted. Lily went to bed with her backpack. Redacted. Redacted. Malaya and Meadow went to bed once Meadow was asleep. She put her in her crib and went to sleep herself. So then they went back a day. Malaya and Constable McIntyre looked at the Google Map timeline Wednesday on Malaya's phone and learned the following about her day. The whole family left her house at 12:51 p.m. on Wednesday and went to the Irving Oil in Westville, where they got $20 worth of fuel. They drove to Malaya's grandmother's house and arrived at 2:01 p.m. on Wednesday. At 3:18 p.m., she went to Access Nova Scotia in Truro Heights with Meadow to get a plate for her car. Daniel and the kids stayed at her grandmother's house. What was Daniel doing, I wonder? They went to the Ultramar in Millbrook to get gas, and she stopped to get a vape for Daniel at High Graders. At 7:54 p.m., they went to Walmart and picked up groceries. Well, there's some mention of some food finally. The whole family went together at 7:54 p.m. on Wednesday. They stopped at Truro, or someplace in Truro, redacted, and then went to her grandmother's at 9:19 p.m. to drop off her bank card. Oh, you were using Grandma's bank card. Isn't that interesting? At 10:19 p.m., they arrived home for the night. Malaya provided more background on their living situation. God darn it, I wish you didn't redact this. Jesus! She said they moved into the trailer on Daniel's mother's property. Look at that big square redaction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big points. Oh, Malaya said Daniel's father owned over 100 acres of land out near Barney's River, which is a wooded lot. More redactions. These are right there is so important. So important. It would have been so nice to read that. Because we know Janie's version, but we don't know the statements that Malaya has given a week after being away from there and giving them a little bit of insight as to the problems that they were having, and it would have been around the living conditions. They weren't exactly welcome there, even though Janie wants to make it look like she was, more than generous in letting them move back in temporarily. She had acknowledged that. But indecision doesn't help their situation. Daniel provided 2 statements to police May 2nd and May 4th. The following is a summary of what Daniel said. Let's see what you're saying in my chats. I want to talk to you guys instead. Good to see you, Norbeaster. You're really curious now on what made Cody say, fuck it all, and just relinquish his own babies to her? Well, he was playing child support. I would have to think there's a possibility that she's probably manipulative. There's a lot of angst and a lot of immaturity when it comes to, how faithful the other person's being to me. A lot of bruised egos in this sense. It's an immature relationship in the circumstance. But again, they had 2 children. I'm not even going to start defending Cody and all of this. But I don't know either. I mean, probably, listen, I don't know. He probably wishes it was different. I don't want to speak for him, but when you're going through, it's not even really a custody battle. It's something else. It becomes something completely different, especially if you're new, and you probably are, to the legal system. People can say fucking anything in those discovery documents, like all of the rationale and reasoning as to why you should have custody and the other person isn't. That's when all of the crazy accusations come out, and it doesn't even have to be true, right? So people get all up in their feels over that. Who's to say exactly? You can't control what Malaya wants or what she's doing. But you could probably bet that she was using Jack and Lily as pawns in her what would otherwise be recognized as manipulation. She didn't exactly want what was best for the kids at any one point in time. I think we can identify that, can't we? And it wasn't exactly priority on her mind. She talks about being overwhelmed in this circumstance. Listen, you're a parent starting to talk about overwhelmed. This is something that is a real concern. There's more to the story here. Why exactly were you overwhelmed? Because nothing else in your life was in order. It was all chaos. You lived in chaos. You lived with a tweaker. That was putting high stress on things around the house, especially when Malaya puts trust into Daniel, or trying to navigate her relationship with any sort of trust. All that was long gone before they're grasping onto something that didn't exist. All I'm saying, Anita Benitez says, is custody court is not fair to the dads. Oh, yes. Yeah, I know what you're saying there. Yeah, right. I don't know the circumstances, but when you're in that battle, when you're in we'll call it a custody battle, you're not assuming that Cody's battling for custody of the kids. He just wants, who knows what was going on there, but it wasn't like he was wanting custody of the kids. It didn't sound like maybe she wanted to come to an agreement. And he just ended up walking away, trying to distance himself from all of the manipulation. Really, you shouldn't be there in the first place. If you had the best interest of your children in mind, there would be no need to even be in getting custody battle. Okay? All right? You have custody. You're the mom. The kids have to live somewhere. There's no need to distinguish that in the court of law. I'll be here. Just call me. I'll come pick the boys up. I'll come pick the kids up whenever. I don't know. I'm not the one to ask about that 100%, but you know how things go. You know how stupid these situations are at the end. These court battles, you think that they're oh so important when you're in the middle of it because you don't know any better. When you're done it and the lawyers are done hosing you for thousands of fucking dollars, and you start to reflect on what you just went through and realize that you never really actually needed the lawyer to begin with. You just cost yourself all kinds of money for what? So many times people are, especially young parents in this circumstance, they're not going to know any better. Guys, you could have sorted all of this shit out yourselves rather than have to go to a lawyer or have to go through the courts. And in fact, they probably encourage you to do that to begin with. But one good turn deserves another, and next thing you know, you're fucking balls deep into lawyer bills, and for nothing. just to go and have your lawyer say one word on your behalf in the front of court, and all of a sudden there's a $900,000 bill coming in at the end of the month? Holy shit. I've been there. And it wasn't for custody. It wasn't for custody. There was no ever real... It all of a sudden becomes important because you need an agreement when it comes to filling things out. Who actually has custody of the kids at this time? You know? You didn't have to go through the extent and all of the nastiness. Anyway. Anita Bonita, exactly. A mom should value her kids' relationship with their dad as much as their own. Absolutely. But that's not to say that there isn't circumstances where sometimes, like, family can be the worst abusers, right? And we can't overlook that. Like, sometimes there's a real reason why you don't want to have any access, or there needs to be stipulations put in place, especially when there's abuse or allegations of it involved. Maybe there really is abuse going on, right? USA, I spent 40 grand on a lawyer and got nowhere with my addict ex. Don't tell me those bad news stories. Fucking lawyers. I remember being trapped in that way of thinking and thinking I actually needed a lawyer because I didn't know enough to go and defend myself. That was my biggest regret. I thought I was doing something good, like it was a fool. Like, I didn't even need anything in the first place. I didn't need a lawyer. I didn't need to pay a lawyer because it all comes down to coming up with an agreement, especially when it comes to access and custody. This is why you're there in the first place, aren't you? Access. What are the rules that we're going to live by? And by the way, the rules that you do draw up, as soon as one person deviates it from just 10 minutes, you may as well throw that fucking thing in the garbage. But people want to stick by these things and use it on their behalf as though they have legal rights to something, as opposed to it just being an agreement between two people. You didn't need a lawyer to bring you to that point, by the way. Oh, but of course lawyers will say a little bit different. Oh, you need to have your right, you know. They'll be justifying their high charges, no problem. But not to get too sidetracked. Anita's, I agree, AB, but removing them from their dad and leaving them in a worse situation with someone who wasn't their dad. I don't know what you're butting me about, but I agree with your statement, for sure. Like, sometimes you have to expect that they're just caught up in their own narcissistic relationships. You know how it goes. People get so attuned to themselves, you know, wrapped up in their issues. And at the end of it, it's too bad because it hurt the kids. But you never really see that in the moment necessarily. You're too busy battling your own perceived scenarios. I mean, I don't know, Daniel. The only way a person is going to walk away from this scenario is if the relationship with the other person is this bad, and you know he just didn't want to deal with her anymore. It would be interesting, no matter what it is, to know what reasons they were. It's really none of our business. It's none of our business. But I still like to know. I am a bastard like that. It's none of our business, but I still want to know as I'm talking to everybody over a microphone. Yeah, it would be interesting to satisfy our curiosity, no doubt. Like, the relationship between Cody and Malaya, I would like to know about that relationship. But why? According to Belinda, Cody just decided to wash his hands of having to deal with it, and he thought that ignoring it would make it go away. He's still paying his child support. He's still supporting his kids. That tells me he cares, okay? He cares. But he can't care when he's probably being manipulated from his perspective by a person who he's in conflict with. That's a tough one. It's easy for us to sit back and say, well, he should have done this, that, and the other, but we're not in the situation. Like, I'm not I'm not justifying any of his rationale or reasoning, or it's the best course of action. I'm just trying to get an understanding of the possibilities. Like, Malaya wants to make it look like he was less than adequate as a partner, but she had 2 kids with him. It's really distancing yourself away. You know, it's what does that say about yourself? These people never really take time to take that into consideration. It makes themselves look bad when you represent the other individual in that relationship a certain way after the fact. Like, it doesn't say a lot about your judgment, or not to say that there isn't abuse or there isn't reason sometimes, but often. And in this circumstance, I think it was probably more that as you know, I think maybe we take for granted the fact that they have 2 beautiful little children, that they're essentially ready to be parents in the first place. Something tells me that they shouldn't even been parents to begin with in this circumstance. Well, good luck sitting here pushing that argument. Like, I mean, it's baseless. They're parents. The kids are already here. Don't expect the right decisions from these 2 numbskulls. But of course, when you're... that's one way to put it, but if you're in a position like a grandparent, you make the best of it. Like Belinda was... She's a decent individual, a decent person in that sense. She was very welcoming, I think the term would be. And all of those pictures that we see, the kids often looked happy and engaged and attentive and wanting to engage with whoever was on the other end of the camera. You know, they're in a playful moment. Everything in the circumstance points to Daniel. Who was inconvenienced the most? Janie. But what was Daniel's reason for being with Malaya in the first place? Was it just to get a little panani on the side? It ended up being Janie. Daniel's resolution to everything, to whatever conflicts that they were having, or whatever problems that they're having in their life. So Patty really did what Janie should have been doing too, and is asking them to find alternative places to live. Now that's not a big ask, you know. Like, why would you feel bad for asking that? You guys have 2 kids going on 3. You guys need to think about getting your own place, supporting yourselves. Why isn't that happening? Why isn't that happening? With all of the things, you guys could have started YouTube channels or something. Did something. Brought in another source of income. Another hustle. You could have 5, 6, 7 hustles. The work is out there if you want it. The answer is. It always is. No matter what it is. There's no excuse, really, at the end of the day. The biggest problem in their relationship was Daniel's drug habit. Absolutely it was. It would have been a key contributor to his controlling nature. Look, he could be a completely normal, half-likable individual when he's sober, like everybody, right? This man turns into something completely different when he's under the influence of the mathematics, all right? That's not rocket science right there. Not to mention all of the times coming down off of it, which occupy the rest of your time that you're not high on it. You're still under the influence of it. And it's still controlling Daniel. And Daniel, in turn, controls everything else. Not going to bed with her. You're staying up, fixing things around the house. The place should look like the Taj Mahal. The place looks like it's fucking falling down, brother. And you guys are so worried about a fence going up? So you can keep all the garbage from blowing all over the fucking place, or what? Crap. It's bullshit. Come on. Explore car, no excuse to wash hands of your kids. I have no doubt Malaya made it difficult or had to earn or pay to have access. So listen. Malaya turned down that house on the reservation. So long as she didn't have that asshole Daniel in her life, she could have made a go of it, raised her kids in absolute peace without any conflict. The complication arises is when Meadow, because she now shares a child with Daniel. Talk about another level of control you would have over her. Or Daniel's not the healthiest individual in that sense. Like, you acknowledge the fact that there is so much more to do when you have a newborn baby. It's out of your control. You can't reason with a newborn baby. You have to attend to it most all the time or be in arm's reach. That's with all kids, not just this one. With all babies. So how is it Daniel doesn't acknowledge this? Daniel acknowledges it as Malaya was not attending and ignoring the kids, as though that he wasn't a part of this makeshift family. That's a big tell to me. All of a sudden, all of the child rearing duties fall solely onto Malaya and none onto Daniel in that circumstance. How that's going to go over well. It's not going to go over well at all. And then in the same breath, take credit for all of the child rearing you did do when the kids are showing up dirty, neglected, and really undernourished, malnourished. No wonder you couldn't keep control of them, because you fill them full of sugar every time. You should stuff so much roast beef and potatoes and carrots and gravy down their throats that they want to go to sleep afterwards. That's the trick, guys. Feed them till they can't eat anymore, then go sleep. What are you saying, Tammy Burke? I don't believe Malaya is capable of looking after 3 children by herself. We don't even know her that well. She could have been. Yeah, she could have been. If her head was screwed on straight. People do it all the time. People do that all the time. I don't think that we don't know her. We don't know her that well. According to Belinda, there was a time where she enjoyed being a parent. I think things got a whole lot more difficult for her when she gets into... She got with Daniel. Here's a person who has kids already. All right. He's still with somebody else, but you guys got together. All right. She had to have thought at one point that he was a good role model for her kids in that circumstance. She was with them just long enough to get knocked up by him before she realized that he was a drug addict. The day before she was induced with Meadow, she has a story for it. It has to be significant. You know, raising kids is an enjoyable task. It should be enjoyable to you. I guess I'm taking it for granted that a parent can feel overwhelmed, and it is okay from time to time because we live in a busy world and we're being overstimulated by everything. And sometimes it's hard to synchronize everything, especially with 3 kids. But it's not that hard. It's not that hard. I don't know that she was having a hard time being a parent in that sense. And why was she having a hard time being a parent? We wanted earlier on to just blame it on her probable abuse of substances. But that's only because we see how much of a tweaker Daniel is. I mean, we're making a mistake there potentially right there. I'm not saying that she's a saint. Maybe she wasn't using, or maybe she was being sedated. But she wasn't always a user in that sense. How do you know I'm not talking to Malaya? How do you know I'm not the new man, Miss K? Me and Malaya are in romantic talks right now. Just what you want to do. The fact that she got with Daniel is because she wanted to fill that blank in her life. She wanted her kids to have a healthy male role model. That goes with almost without saying. In that circumstance, you don't get with somebody that already has kids and expect that person's to look after whatever kid she brings to the table as if it's not your problem. You might think that. But she's not. She's not. That's not a reasonable... It's not a reasonable thing to expect. You're going to at some point have to be that good person. And when Daniel is abusing drugs, parenting and being around the kids and these things, he's going to have all kinds of other things to be preoccupied about, rather than what would otherwise be a normal, healthy relationship. This would have been taking its toll on Malaya's mental health, especially that she's got a baby. She got a new baby with this guy. He can't use the same excuse. This is your baby, not Cody's. You saying, Miss K, that's not a defense? I think she should have been talking to plead with more searches and public info promoting the reward fund to the public, but no, she doesn't have gums like Daniel. Her silence would indicate that something else has happened. No matter what it is, no matter what her rationale and reasoning for staying silent in this circumstance is, it doesn't have anything to do with Jack and Lily wandering into the woods and being missing. It has everything to do with something else that happened. Again, we're being bamboozled by a bullshit artist who can't shut the fuck up and is talking in ways that misrepresent himself and don't speak directly to the fate of Jack and Lily. Daniel said that he still believes Jack and Lily are alive. Are you on crack? Answer yes. That too. Yeah, right. That's completely contrary to what the cops are saying. That's ironic. That's odd. That tells me that he's doing a favor for Janie. Back at you, Janie. Yeah, we both think they're still alive because it's hope, and hope is all we have. Well, fucking rhetoric, eh? Rhetoric. I think she should have been taking... she should have been doing a whole lot more, Miss K, if this was a legitimate circumstance. But there's no sense telling her what she should have done when the circumstance isn't as it's presented, when it's completely different. That's why she's silent. She shouldn't even be in this circumstance to begin with. The kids shouldn't even be missing. She should be fixing him lunch at this point in time. It's 1:15, isn't it? Meep, no, a 4 and a 6-year-old aren't going to go down to the fucking pipeline, hand in hand, walking and wandering, and not be found. I don't know what you're thinking, but I don't know, and I don't think it's important. Broken Goth Doll, good to see you. Malaya chose not to be with Cody and chose to be with Daniel. What was Cody supposed to do? Move on with them? Yeah, the timing, we don't know the timing, but you're bringing up a good point. Like, they both found Band-Aids. They both had this fantasy, and they found each other. Probably, I wonder how you two met. Plenty of fish? Did you guys find each other over plenty of fish? So Daniel disregards his life with his wife and kids, finds Malaya, who's probably better in the sack, at least at that point in time. He's like, whoa, man, the grass is really greener on this side. Oh, I think it's meant to be. I think we should be together forever. And what at that same time, during that time was the court process with Cody, and Malaya told Belinda she found this new dreamy dude named Daniel, who was promising her everything, including Janie's trailer. To be fair, fathers need to step up and not see that the children are part of the equation when separated, divorced, remarried. Well, it's a typical issue. I went through that issue, if you can believe that. At the time, I wanted to avoid certain things because I didn't think it was my place. Like, my ex had kids, and I didn't think it was my place to have to go. Like, first of all, I couldn't be everywhere at one time. My job dictated that I was often out of town and never home till like 5 or 6 late at night, which conflicted with the kids' ball games and hockey games and being there to watch most of them, right? And my wife did not fucking like that at all. I thought that was unfair of her. But it is and it's not. It was an issue. It's not that I didn't want to. Fuck, I needed to make money, boy. And at that time, I was more keen in to make money and work at that, rather than have to say, well, I didn't have an option. It's not like I could just say, fuck, I have to fuck everybody else to go back 2 hours, cut off from work 2 hours early just to make it to a kid's softball game. That wouldn't have went over very well. I wouldn't have had any jobs. So it was just something that wasn't going to be put up with, nor should it be put up with on her part necessarily. It wasn't working in my circumstance. You know what I mean? But it was an issue of contention. Well, we don't need to try, Grove Cat. We are. We're on the straight and narrow. We're not distracted. We're talking about things that are relevant. No, it's not irrelevant. This all has to do with Jack and Lily going missing. How are you supposed to focus on any of the relevant information when it's all a lie to begin with? You have to begin to unpack and unsort. That's all. The adults' behaviors are related to why the kids are gone. Bingo bango. The lives of the family dynamic lay a foundation. Ooh, Betty. What does that say? Betty Smith? Very philosophic. Norbeaster, good question. Didn't Malaya cheat on Cody with, is that Daniel? I don't know if that's ever been brought up. I'm not sure if that's actually ever been brought up. Technically, maybe? I don't know. Lori Green, if my bio kids went missing, would you get off your ass over there to search? I know where this is going, Lori Green. Well, Belinda did. Okay. I don't want to be having to speak to Cody and why he's done or hasn't done. It just seems like an inappropriate mess. He wasn't part of the picture in that sense. Like, I mean, you would think so. But he was maybe being purposefully pushed to the wayside. He wasn't, Malaya was in control of Cody in that circumstance up to a point, okay? That's what was going on. When Cody stopped, it would have had to have been because there was manipulation going on between them, and they're in a, it's not all one or the other. It's just a shitty situation that they're in. Malaya should have made it right and tried to keep him in the picture as much as possible. Because one, it would have kept her from getting overwhelmed, as she likes to put it, when, the responsibilities of now raising the kids falls onto you as opposed to you and Cody, or two of you. It's not as easy to split, it's difficult. All the workload goes back onto one person. And that workload never seemed to change when Daniel came into the picture. And I don't think that was anticipated. Who? Are you talking about Cody having visible motive? What the fuck are you talking about, Mr. Hemi? You're going too far. No. A person that's not in the picture has physical motive? No, him not being in the picture would say to you that he doesn't give a shit. Therefore, why would he be going to kidnap his kids 2 years later? Doesn't work like that. Unless I'm understanding it differently and you meant something else. No, quite the opposite. A parent who goes in and does that parental kidnapping thing cares too much. Doesn't like what's going on. Or other reasons. It's pretty easy to see if Cody had anything to do with it just by stopping by and questioning him in that sense. No kids around. Well, certainly couldn't be him. And you're on top of that, anticipating that there was somebody that actually came and took the kids, when we know, in fact, and we suspect that there wasn't, right? So I don't get too lost with these what ifs, because the what ifs aren't, the kids didn't get kidnapped by a stranger. We know that shit. Why am I up here speaking for Cody? See, you're trapping me, Betty Smith. Exactly, AB. Cody doesn't care. How do you know? Go ask him. Go send a message to Cody and ask him. Stop putting it on me. Yeah, Cody doesn't care. What about Malaya? Hello? Exactly. There's no sense talking about Cody in that sense, because we don't know, and it's not important. We already know that we're being misled. We already know that this story is fucking bunk. Okay? So there's no sense for, going forward with this possibility in brainstorm when it's bullshit. It's nonsense. We're getting too far off kilter. I don't know what the answer is. It's ask Belinda. But no. Cody didn't kidnap, and there's no possible way that he did kidnap the kid. So why would we even talk about it to begin with? Malaya broke up with Dylan. Cody went for Brandon. Daniel. You're talking about some 90210? Big North Marty. I like Melrose Place too. Hey Marley, good to see you. Layla. No, Cody didn't have a father. It was an immaculate conception like Jesus. Lori Green, you are obsessed with Cody. You putting the blame at his feet, not the people who were supposed to be responsible for them. Exactly. This is what drives me nuts. I don't know that's what Lori's doing, but she's just bringing up points. It can seem like that. I think people just look for new angles and new tweaks and new questions to ask. Well, listen. When the last people that saw the kids alive are lying, I think that is really the primary answer you need to focus on. There's a reason why they're lying. It has nothing to do with Cody, Belinda, Janie. Well, maybe it does have something to do with Janie because she was last there, but all of the other people that should have been in their lives to do what? The problem is with that thinking is that you're assuming that they have a magical power over the other person to snap their fingers and all of a sudden they're going to start making the right decisions. Or they didn't call Children's Aid fast enough. Then Children's Aid didn't protect them fast enough. Then they didn't do this. Then they fucking didn't do that. They shouldn't be doing these things in the first place because we live in a free society. The answer to all of that is they were already involved. There was already concern. And that comes by way of being involved in the school. The school had concerns. There's protocols in place. Is there an accurate measurement for all of the murders that you supposedly prevented because CPS and CAS worked as fast as you think that they should? No, it doesn't exist. You're in a nice narcissistic mindset in that sense. I hate that discussion. That point is null. It doesn't make sense, especially when all of the blame, the only blame, and especially in this circumstance, falls in the laps of Malaya, Daniel, and Janie. Only because she's propagating false information. But it always comes down to the parents. And don't ever think it doesn't. Do you need Children's Aid to come in and oversee your every move as a parent? Should you run a direct video line to CPS all the time to make sure that you're all's in the clear for every decision you make? Come on. Like, it makes no fucking sense. It's silly. The right answer in all of that is that child protective services really shouldn't have to be a thing in a perfect world. But we don't live in a perfect world. So there. You know, and you're never going to have a perfect system in that circumstance. We have free will, Grove Cat. Even in the controlled society, they don't control how you parent your kids. I'm not even going to fucking start into that conversation. It's just so ridiculous. Anyway, there's no sense distracting yourselves away for where blame needs to lay. And that's with Daniel and Malaya. Either way, the RCMP or same as K would look into all closed to the children. Bottom line, Malaya is just putting it out to be a distraction to social media. What's she putting out, Miss K? It's strange how fast Malaya got out of there. Oh, I don't know. It's just that we don't know the answer. How's it strange that she got out of there when all of they fight about is her wanting to get the fuck out of there? How it's not that strange. We know that it's an ongoing thing. It happens all the time. That according to Malaya, that Daniel holds her down when she's trying to call her mom and wants to leave. There's a whole dynamic there that we're not privy to because Cindy won't talk. That side of the family won't talk yet in public. It looks like they've said some initial statements. Your wife's born in the Congo? I guess I could see your point then, Grove Cat. That's real chaos in the Congo. What kind of parent or step-parent tells the world that their children will go with anyone or don't understand stranger danger? Doesn't she realize it says that they have neglected their care? Well, it's more of a CB, it's a desperate attempt. Like what they're saying is initially they're wanting to press upon everybody without saying it. Oh, yeah, there's a possibility our kids are autistic. Well, she wanted to really emphasize that point because Malaya brought up that point with 911 dispatch, like the first things that you say to, in your report, the first thing was said was they're autistic and they're known to bewilder. And then afterwards, she corrects herself and says that they're not known to wander. They don't wander anywhere on their own. Well, that's a major conflict to me if I was an investigating officer. That would stand out to me. But you're right. I mean, you're not wrong. It's just that that's how desperate they are to paint it like they're in the middle of a real mystery and they have no idea what's gone on. But yet they're putting blame back onto the kids. They're blaming the kids in that sense. And admitting to bare neglect at very least is the least of their worries. Because it can be excused. Yeah, like a parent can turn their back for a couple seconds, and that's what they want to make it look like, as though that they were just not paying attention. It was every normal day, and the next thing they know, the kids were just gone. They decided to up and hike into the woods. They're not sure. But then as time goes by and nobody can find the kids, then they start saying that, yeah, I don't believe that the kids walked into the woods. Well, it's pretty odd. They're the only ones that would have impressed upon to the, responding officers that the kids indeed walked into the woods. They wandered away. When in fact, they've never really committed to anything and haven't really offered up a really detailed alibi. It's too many qualifiers, probablys. They're just concocting a story. Yeah, Marley, she finally got out surrounded by law enforcement. She was also told to leave by Children's Aid and the RCMP. I'm not sure if the RCMP told her. Janie kicked the family off the property. Yeah, those are all different, though, but I know what you're saying. Well, she definitely felt more comfortable around there. He didn't have the opportunity with all of the law enforcement in there to do his normal shtick in intimidating her until she complied. You know what I'm saying? Like, each time there was a big festering fight, and it had to do with her leaving. And she wasn't leaving because of hers, leaving because of what they were experiencing there. It's a shitty situation. And not to mention, you're not very much of a partner, Daniel. You're fucking high all the time, and you spend, you're up all night doing God knows what while I'm sitting here with Meadow sleeping. She's completely isolated within the home. She's made to feel like she's the single parent in this relationship. Oh no, I promise things will get better. I promise. What's going to get better exactly? But Linda didn't make excuses for Cody, and she said what it was from the start, and she didn't agree with it. But a lot of relatives weren't seeing Malaya, Jack and Lily. Oh, yeah, well, there's an angle there that we don't know too much about. Now, I thought Belinda was descriptive enough in the circumstances, enough for what we need to know. Is it really important that we need to know? I don't know. I don't think so. We don't need a hall monitor just to enjoy that chat. What do you say, Vivian? I never feel the need to call someone out or argue. Are you talking to me? Am I arguing? Sorry. Uh-oh. Hold on. Donna. Explore Core. Good to see you. Hello, Marley. I'm scrolling for some comments. Who's saying that? Broken Goth Doll. Imagine living in that trailer with a new baby, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and Janie as your mother-in-law. Yeah, I know. I know, brother. Or Broken Goth Doll. I don't think you're a brother, but I know it. That would have been stressful. That would have been. I would have been excited to get out of that, wouldn't you? It didn't matter if it was Janie or not, but any other. You know, like your significant other's mother. But it's not just living in the back. It's that she moved out and it is holding that over you every step of the way. Like every day, it's like, when are you guys going to leave? All while she's putting up so all of this time, Daniel's probably compensating for her in getting high on his math and going out there and working on this ridiculous, seventh wonder of the world in this fence. This huge fucking construction project. I put that fence up in a goddamn afternoon, and it would look way better than that. Ridiculous. This fence is ridiculous. And it's not even straight, by the way. Have you noticed? You couldn't even square it up to something. Yeah, imagine. It would have been, it had to have been a constant. It almost goes without saying. You know that would have been an issue. And it was always being talked about. It was always happening where he was holding her down. It was a problem. Finally, this was the breaking point. Whatever happened to Jack and Lily, she's the F out of there. Why are they so eager in keeping Malaya and Meadow held up somewhere in a temporary housing situation? One, what was wrong with the trailer? Because the Children's Aid wouldn't let them go back into that shithole? Well, isn't that kind of overlooking the issue at hand then? Just because you're going to be turned into Janie and bring him into your house, well, that doesn't really solve any of the issues. What was her alternative? Going into a battered woman's shelter with the kids on a temporary scenario until she can get herself back on her feet? That would have been it. But she went to Cindy. They went to Cindy, and she's a registered nurse, which means she's trustworthy, beautiful, hardworking. No, I'm kidding. But she must have been feeling some stress because that didn't last. Now, did it? There's a part we're missing, because whatever was going on after that, and we haven't talked about that for quite some time, that whatever stipulations Children's Aid Society put in with her residing with their mother, she didn't adhere to. The rules that went along, it has to have something to do with what happened to Jack and Lily and conflict between, Cindy and everybody else knowing or probing her for questions in that sense. I would say Malaya probably got really uncomfortable with answering it as to what really happened, or engaging in a conversation about it at least, and ended up having to walk out, not wanting to share. Whatever it was, she wants us to think that her primary focus is getting Meadow back at this point as way of distraction. And I'm sure that she's keeping that, I don't doubt that she wants to get Meadow back. And I don't doubt that she's going through a custody battle. That's not what I'm saying. But she's skipping over some pretty important details in all of this. Like, if you think that anybody's going to accept that the kids just disappeared and, okay, here's your child back, you got another thing coming. You're right, Miss K. I think it would be Janie's way or get off of the property. Yeah, I would think so too. But I mean, I'm not sure how high of standards she would have. Like, what sort of high standards would Janie be having around there? CB, you can't believe how Janie would go on the CBC and show the world how negatively she felt about the kids. Victim blaming is a no-no. Yeah, well, I agree with you. I don't think that was her intent. I don't think that was her intent. It's just very shocking. So shit would have flown downhill. Janie would have felt a lot more comfortable and shitting all over Daniel. And it would be more, how long before Daniel really incorporates this into his belief system? I don't think that Janie was really on good terms with Malaya there. It would have been all just disingenuous, really pretending to be polite to the other person. Imagine even having to do that at your own house all the time. It wouldn't feel like a home, and that's the major problem. If Malaya didn't feel like it was a home, there was no way that she could really pass on that true home feeling to the kids. Christine's talking about Daniel didn't support anyone but himself. He used money for the kids. That's all he wanted. With Malaya leaving, money leaves with them. Exactly. And you're talking about when you're talking about Meadow and baby bonus and tax benefits and that. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, Vivian, Daniel wasn't interested in adopting those kids, and they needed to be adopted in that sense. If she was going to ice their actual father out, what did she think was going to replace that? Like, how do you think that you're going to replace the paternal bond in that sense? Like, Cody could just be iced out, and Belinda could just be iced out, and what? What did you think was going to fill in? What was the real reason that she came up with in her mind? Like, there's reasons why you cut nice people out. That's if they are having a negative impact behind your back on your kids. You know, like, for example, they're manipulating. Like, when they go there, they're filling their heads full of all kinds of shit about something that they shouldn't know anything about. That's common, isn't it? But what was it? Just for the sake of interest, I mean, there is a reason Malaya treated it that way, and I don't feel that she had a legitimate reason to ice them out just based off of what I've come to learn about it. Now, she might feel different. Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe it's just, see, no matter what, we know the answer to this because the kids always suffer, right? And it's always about the parents in their narcissistic ways. They're putting really often themselves ahead of anything, and the kids suffer. And that's what was happening here. Heaven forbid you ever resolve any of your own issues. Heaven forbid that you compromise. Heaven forbid that you ever work anything out. Ever. So really what you're saying is that you made a mistake with the kid's father, and now you want to undo it by icing them out. That's making life very difficult on yourself. All just for what, show? There probably couldn't have been a good reason. I don't feel that there would have been. But who's to say? And it's not important to the case of Jack and Lily. It's just a bit of a continuation of something we're talking about. I know that. Yeah, Janie Tammy basically talked about how she didn't like her from the get-go. Right. And it's fine not to like somebody, too. But not in this circumstance. It stands out to people. Janie treated them as not good enough because she has a refusal to blame Daniel for anything in this circumstance. I have a feeling that's more accurate. I'm not used to that. My parents blame me for fucking everything. They had no problem putting everything onto me. But here, I've never seen a parent that just blindly believes everything that Daniel has to say and will protect him at all costs. That's ridiculous. A little jealous of that. Fuck, I wish I had some of that growing up. Layla, are you way off base with that? Are you talking about Janie? She's unlikable, but honest in your opinion? Janie is anything but honest. You're mistaking her brashness for transparency and honesty. No, she's a fucking liar, dude. Janie couldn't tell the truth in this circumstance. Janie's not honest in this circumstance. Janie's quite the opposite. She tells you that she's caring and then tells you how much she doesn't care about somebody. She can't have it both ways. No, I don't agree with that statement. With all of this stuff, I always go back, says Grove Cat, to there were 3 adults there when the kids went missing. Bring them in together and question them together and see how it goes. Well, that's if we're watching like Hill Street Blues or something. Yeah, you can trip them up. They've done that. I don't think they quite do that. They do their investigating a little bit different in this case, I think. It would have changed course when they realized that they weren't being honest and they were refusing to remember things. It would have taken a different trajectory, because right there's a reason why they're not being forthcoming with you. It doesn't look right. The cops aren't going to all of a sudden start treating them different or start accusing them in the moment necessarily. I feel. They could have been perfect, and Janie would still have despised them. Marley, I think it's representative of the living situation and how inconvenienced she was to begin with. Like, first of all, she wanted like a backslap, some gratitude over the fact that, she's sacrificing. She's sacrificing her convenience and comfort in her own home so that Malaya and Jack and Lily had someplace to go. That's painting it in a nice picture. There's no room for 5 people to move into a little trailer like that. Boy, am I excited for you guys coming home. No, she wasn't enthused with the living situation, and then the fact that the dog, she was, everything else wasn't working her way. Like, it was driving her fucking nuts. She was made to feel second class in her own home. Nobody was appreciating or appreciative of it. I think it was more of that. Yeah, I think you're onto something, Half Moon. They certainly do try to do a lot of that convincing to us in what they say, don't they? In their statements. They convinced Malaya that the kids were the problem and she disconnected. Yeah, I would say that that's probably true. Now, I don't know if we could rely on Malaya to actually... Can we trust her or anything that she says? Well, it's not about it. It'd be interesting to know what she had to say about it. And there's so much that Malaya could respond to at this point in time. It's all out there for her to agree to. I think that was half the point. Oh, yeah. Janie just has such an accurate account of things. But she didn't actually say that. She said everything Janie's claiming is just bullshit, crap, making it up. She doesn't understand why she's making things up. Doesn't that tell you that something other than what was portrayed happened? Well, it does. But they're obfuscating it. They're confusing our minds in that sense. They're not doing a very good job. Yeah, Amanda, possibly Justin. Well, there's a possibility he was involved in after the fact, because they were active in pulling as many people in their real lives as close to this situation as possible. That was like, what was the point in calling every last person to come over and do what? Hang around and search? Like, what was the point of them being there? Moral support, so you could avoid them in real time, so you could paint the illusion or create the illusion that there really was two kids genuinely just wandered off. They had to sell the story to other people. It adds confusion to the time, just more people around there. All while they wanted to avoid the police, pretend to be searching out there. Like, really, how far do you have to go if this was a reality and the kids were just there? I think you would probably want to spend more time on alternatives than actually out there physically wandering aimlessly nowhere, especially when there's search and rescue on hand to do that for you. You're on to the next step. If they're not in your arm's reach, an hour goes by, something else fucking happened. And you needed to be the first person to lead that, Daniel and Malaya, or last person to see them. Not just hope and really want to impress that they bend the rules and issue an Amber Alert when it doesn't meet the criteria. They didn't anticipate that when they came up with this fucking story. Not to mention, they don't really tell you why. Like, if you want to introduce a new angle, you need to give them some reason or rationale as to why you think that way, and they want to avoid that at all costs because it would lead to further questions that they're out of control. They want to control it as much as possible. So be more general and vague. And when you're speaking in generalities and you're being so vague in this circumstance, that's a red flag. Sign of deception, no matter what. But no matter what, I think we all can agree that they have been deceptive throughout all of this. Doesn't that tell you something? It would to a jury of 12. They're hiding guilty knowledge. They know what happened. Daniel knows what happened. I'm pretty confident that Malaya does as well. The snack cupboard. I wonder what's in those snack cupboards of Janie's. You got a good point, Amanda. Yeah, they were treated second class. Just because of the circumstances. Here I am allowing these homeless people to come into my home and stay for 4 months, now indefinitely. Well, there's a story there. The fact that they're out there working and putting up a fence tells me that Daniel doesn't think that doesn't see them moving out anytime soon. Why would you be so focused on outside construction as opposed to fixing up the house, cleaning it, maintaining it? He's preoccupied, distracted. CB Canada. How do you know that, my friend? Yes, and why was Daniel sitting in the car when Malaya Brooks Murray is doing laundry? Does Patty have a beef with DM? The answer to that is probably. Who doesn't have a beef with Daniel? They all seem, to have a real dislike for Daniel, probably because of what they hear through Cindy by way of their never-ending conversation that they have on their phone about having to get the fuck out of there and leaving this SOB. You got me trapped. I would think that Malaya is not strong-willed in any way, that she's a pushover. You don't. They thought that the cops would listen to them. It's not clear about what happened that particular night. There's a narrative in the overemphasis and the overfocus on the statements that they gave as per what they were doing, where they were standing, is ridiculous in light of Jack and Lily and their fate and the circumstances leading up to what got them gone and why we can't find them at this point in time. And Daniel can do as much talking in front of that camera as he wants, but it's not going to change. It's not going to change the fact that your stories don't hold any weight and it's not good enough. All right? But it doesn't bring Jack and Lily home any faster, and we still don't have any fucking answers. So that's where the RCMP are probably at in this circumstance. We have to today's another day. Tomorrow's a new day. That's exactly what you have to deal with this day by day. Hopefully tomorrow Daniel just breaks it all open, he cries, and he checks himself into a mental institution. Hold on. All right, friends, I'm going to wrap it up. We're going to go have some lunch. We'll be back a little bit later on today. We'll continue the conversation into this. I'm going to do a little bit more reading. I do enjoy our conversations. Great points in the chat. Thank you guys for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time and spending it with us here this morning. Did we get anywhere? No, but it's not about getting anywhere necessarily. Sometimes it's great to sit around and chew the fat. That's exactly what we're doing. We'll be here to chew the fat around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight. In the meantime, we're going to be making a Swiss cheese, Dijon mustard, and salami sandwiches. If you're wondering. But the natives are getting restless. They're in need of some attention, and I got to give it to them. So I will be back a little bit later on, and we will continue the conversation at that point. Thank you, guys.